Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Teach Me to Sports Bet. We just concluded the NFL regular season, and this girl went 4-0 this weekend. I am so happy. My best weekend of betting to date, but I know some hurdles await me as we enter the playoffs. So I, as always, am joined by my friend, colleague, and veteran sportscaster, Dave Bontempo, to help me make sense of the playoffs. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Kimmy, how are you? Congratulations on your 4-0 run. See
I
what happened to
know.
you over the course of the season? Look where you've gone.
So it was interesting. So here's what I learned this weekend. If you are not comfortable with your bets, you will likely win.
Yes. I call it ignorance is bliss syndrome
Yes.
for me.
But it was interesting. I bet on the point spreads, and that's all I bet. I made 4 point spread bets, and I will tell you that alternate parlay work came into play because
Right.
I was using the information I gathered on the teams as I was watching them to determine. So, for instance, the reason why the Steelers are back in my good graces today is because I thought 9 points was going to be too high. I knew that they were going to rest their players. We talked about that last week. And so I didn't necessarily expect them to win. So I didn't want to take a pure like money line bet on them.
Mm-hmm.
But I did feel like they would come in under that 9-point margin. I felt like it was just too large, and they did it. They only lost by 2. So I'm so happy.
That was great. And you got a great deal because when we were talking last week, the line was 7. The Steelers had just announced and they were playing mum. As soon as they said Ben Roethlisberger wasn't going to play, that line shot to 9 right away. And you got that at the right time. So nice going on that. And that was a gutsy call. And I will also tell you that you were in line with many of the bettors on Sunday. We got some information, and a lot of the bettors played it the way you did. They thought the Steelers were getting too much, and they said, if this is where Kimmy is going, I'm going that way too.
God, I hope not. We need to talk to them about their betting strategy if they're following anything I'm doing. The other thing I wanted to mention, now that we're at the end of the regular season, is that I am ending regular season with a bankroll of $743.11.
Wow.
I, as you know, invested $500 on DraftKings, and of that $500, I did take advantage early on some deposit bonus, free bets, and profit boosts that help boost my bankroll a little bit. So it helped me sustain some of my losing weeks. And I have pretty much held on to most of that bonus to make it a profitable season. Now, we're not done. We have the playoffs, but I'm pretty proud of that.
And you're not going to lose $243 during the playoffs, based on your style. And let's go back. The first week you didn't bet because there was nothing that you liked. That was a good strategy. And the profit boosts, that's taking away the VIG. That's a 20% boost, a margin for you. If you think of it as a business, that's a great move. So you've made a lot of nice moves to position your money. And that was a great start.
I also realized that I probably could have invested less based upon the fact that I value my money and don't want to bet it, needlessly, I should say. So I'm not a huge bettor, but I didn't really know what I would need. I didn't know how it would go over the season because I'd never bet anything before. So I probably could have invested less, but because I invested the $500, I got a bonus on my deposit, which automatically made that amount higher because I think it was $100 versus, I think it was 20%. I can't remember now.
Yes.
But
yeah, you did well with that. Yes.
So I tried to maximize the bonus offerings as much as I could, and that has really benefited me. I'm probably about even, maybe slightly ahead if it was like a straight bet for bet. Because I had some good weeks up front. I struggled in the middle. I didn't really put too much value in losing the parlays because parlays are so hard to hit. I was really looking at more for an educational opportunity, which
Yes.
then paid off this week. So there you go.
I think that's great. And when you look at it like that, one of the strengths you have had is that you separated your money from your feelings. You looked at the money as, okay, this is the bankroll end of it. This is one part of it. And the gut instinct is the other part of it. And you kept them in their own compartment. So for you, uncertainty was your best friend. When you didn't know, you didn't bet. And
Yeah.
that was great that you had those two things. And for anybody just tuning in and listening to these business things, for an average bettor before this is why you always lost, or most of the time lost, because of the house edge. You couldn't catch up with the VIG. These promotions let you catch up with the VIG and then be more natural. And you played it great. There's a reason you're ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I will say from a novice betting perspective, for me, it's really important that I kept it fun. And
Yes,
fun is in the $5 to $10 bet range.
very good.
And I'm never gonna, I just know my natural style is not to probably go much higher than that. I think it's funny because, like, I think I told the story last week or the week before that my mother-in-law thought I was putting a ton of money on these games because I was getting like so excited or so mad. And when she found out it was like only $5, she's like, "You need to calm down, child." But to me, it shows me that I get as much excitement out of a $5 bet as I probably have more stress if it was any higher than that. This keeps
Yes.
it fun, and that is important.
You have to know where that level is, where you start to really, okay, you want to win, and that's one thing. But if
Yeah.
someone has too much money invested, then they're worried about the implications if they lose.
Yeah.
And that is the problem with too much. And there's a limit and a level for everyone. That's why we've given the examples of the $5 bettors and the people that put $100,000 down. If they can live with that, God bless them. But that's 100,000 more than I can play with. So
Yeah.
but it's the game. You're playing the game.
It's just not in my nature to go really big. I'm happy with just the win. Not I don't necessarily I like the huge payouts, don't get me wrong, but the risk to get them is just not in my nature.
It's good that you know who you are, and you can even expand that to the in-game betting when you might look at it. I've done this. I said, oh, this game is going nowhere. I'm going to bet the under right in the middle of the game. Next play, 70-yard touchdown pass because somebody broke a tackle. I just bet the under. And all of a sudden, here's this play, and the announcer says, who would have ever expected that? I said, I guess I should have because I bet the under and the over happened. So, yeah, you have all these nuances, but you're keeping it fun, and that's why you've won the regular season, Kim.
Yay! Now let's start talking playoffs because I want to win the playoffs too. So, week 1 of the playoffs, what do we got?
Well, we have a new paradigm this year because they added 2 more teams. So now you have only 2 teams with a bye. That is the Kansas City Chiefs and Green Bay Packers. You will not see them, but you will see instead that there are 6 games on tap for the weekend, 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. So now it's novice territory for everybody because the teams that were used to being off last year for the number 2 rating have to play. I would say you look at it as who's playing the best right now is the Buffalo Bills are playing extremely exciting football, and they have gone up to the number 2 seed. They beat the Miami Dolphins, who had 10 wins. They beat them and scored 56 points on Sunday against the 10-win team. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have found their offense with Tom Brady. They go and they play the Washington football team, which staggered into the NFC least title
They're
when they
back to the
defeated the
least.
Eagles. It's back to the least. After what I saw last night, that's a least. It's back to there. And by the way, Buffalo will host the Indianapolis Colts.
Ooh,
That's one of the big games. We
yeah.
have the Seattle Seahawks are playing the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams have a new quarterback, and there's a debate in Los Angeles over who should start because the new quarterback did well and led them to a victory. Now you've got a quarterback thing going on over there. But these are some of the key teams that we're going to look at. And the Baltimore Ravens and Tennessee Titans could be the game of the weekend. Watch it. Even if you're only betting a couple dollars, that should be worth the entertainment value alone. Those two teams, a ton of fun and a good matchup.
Yeah, I bet on Tampa Bay this weekend.
Good. Yeah,
And
a 17-point win against Atlanta, and their offense has really come into play. Tom Brady gets very good offensive line protection, has a lot of time to throw the ball, and they're a very good receiving team. They're already favored by more than a touchdown against Washington, and they're the team going on the road. That shows how much respect Tampa Bay has.
So here's my big question to you. Now everything's at stake, right? So we went from a weekend where there was, some teams had some things at stake, some teams didn't. It was going to be, you had to sort of figure out where to go, but now everything's at stake. They have a chance. Everybody's going to be playing their hardest, I would assume.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How do you evaluate that?
Well, what you have to figure is now the lines indicate really where the strengths of the team are. And if I would look at, say, a game like Buffalo and Indianapolis, you look at the skill position players, Buffalo has a notch above Indianapolis at those skill position players. That's why they're favored, but they're favored by a touchdown. And you have to say to yourself, is it worth it for that? Or is it worth it to try to play with the lines a little bit and maybe try to get two teams in a parlay? I would rather take Buffalo down to 1 or 2 points and combine it with another game. And I have to win both games to collect, but asking them to win by a touchdown is a lot. Traditionally, underdogs have done well in the first round of the playoffs. But, I mean, this is a new year with a new format and no fans. Now, Buffalo will be allowing fans this week. That's a new thing that came out at the end of Sunday. So these are some of the things. I like taking a team down 5 or 6 points. I like the money line alternate parlays in games like this.
Okay. Is there anything besides the fact that they have to win or they go home, what else is special that I should be paying attention to this weekend?
Well, you don't know how certain teams will handle playoff pressure. The Buffalo Bills look phenomenal. Nobody has given them any type of pressure because they're getting into a new level. So you have to wonder if they get into a ball control game. Indianapolis will try to keep the ball away from them. Will they feel pressure if they're not winning the game early? That's a factor for Buffalo. For Tennessee and Baltimore, it's a great game on the ground. Look at the over-under in that game and see how you feel about that, because this is two very aggressive coaches who will gamble on fourth down, and they won't punt the ball away. They'll, in the middle of the field, they will go for it on fourth down. There are things that happen with the coaching and with trick plays in the first week. So that's some of the things you'll look for. My first thing when I looked at this weekend is I said, I'm taking Tampa Bay down to about 1 point, and I'm taking Buffalo down to 1 point. I'm taking them in a 2-team parlay. I'm going to see where that pays, and then I'll see what else I have to add to that. But they were the first 2 bets that came to me early.
Okay. I feel so last week I was a little gun shy betting because I hadn't really done so well the weeks prior. I took Christmas week off because I was just too busy with family and stuff. So I was a little gun shy, and I even posted, when I posted my bets on Twitter, I said something, I posted them like on Sunday morning, and I said, I made these last night, but I didn't post them because, I like to lose in private. but I ended up winning, and I was super shocked, but very excited. Like, I felt like, okay, the more I know, the more I realize I don't know, type of thing. So now I'm sort of back to feeling nervous about betting, because I know that the teams that are here are playing for something. They have everything at stake. The lines that the books are going to set are going to be super competitive, and it's really going to be a coin flip as to what side of that I fall on. And normally I don't love coin flips. So
Well, the first thing you've done over the course of the year, and it's important to know what kind of a bettor you are with the spread. You are a chalk bettor, usually between 3 and 6 points. That has been your comfort range, and that is where you bet in your comfort range over the weekend. And that's good to know, because there are times when the games will fall into your lap that way, and they will line up into that number. We're seeing a lot of line shopping this week. William Hill had Buffalo at 6.5. DraftKings had it at 7.5. So the Bills bettors jumped on that 6.5, and the Indianapolis bettors went on 7.5 because they were getting a little bit more. There still is a level of difference between the teams, the very top teams and the bottom teams, like say Chicago and New Orleans. There is a big talent gap there. Whether it's worth 7 or 8 points is a decision you have to make. But you might want to parlay a money line on New Orleans with some other bets that you've toyed with to get the number down into the profit range for yourself. There are still some big differences. Tampa Bay is a much better team than Washington if it plays out. So, and then as we go further, there will be less of a gap between teams, as there should be, as they're getting closer to the top.
Okay, I think I'm up to the task. I don't know what I'm gonna do this weekend. I'm probably gonna wait and let it sit for a little bit, like I always do. It seems to be good to sort of see what, sort of watch the evolution of what happens over the week. I realize I sometimes lose a point or two by waiting, but that's my comfort zone. So I'm sticking with it.
Kimmy, in Europe, 80% of the betting on major sports is in game. Probably 80 to 90% of my betting is in game, because you like to see what happens first, pace of the game, etc. One hunch I got out of last week: Cleveland was very lucky to beat a depleted Pittsburgh Steelers team that hadn't started their regulars. They were within a 2-point conversion of tying the game. And you could feel the apple coming for Cleveland because they had to win, and Pittsburgh was depleted. Pittsburgh seems to own Cleveland. I think for myself, I'm looking at that. 4 points is not a bad deal to take Pittsburgh. I'm probably going to put that into my thinking. I just seem to think that they match up well with Cleveland, and that Cleveland may have gone as far as they're going to go. That's how I'm going to play it anyway.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, except for 1 week when I wanted to just be really mad at the Steelers, they have been performing well for me. They do what they need to do, and I appreciate that very much. 1 week, though, I wanted to just... But
yeah, like, how could you do this to me? Maybe that was the Buffalo game, maybe that was the Buffalo game that they did that to you. But yeah, they're a good fundamental team, and they have a great receiving core, and they've been at this level before. The Cleveland Browns, it's their first playoff game in 18 years, and I think they were very lucky to get in. So that's the carryover going in. Now, you don't know if it's all going to play out, but if you have a carryover hunch, that is something that it's good to play. Yeah, things that jump out at you a little bit.
Okay, Dave, well, you've given me a lot to think about, as always. I can't wait to recap with you next week and talk about this. Going into the playoffs with sports betting is sort of exciting. Playoffs are exciting, just typically as a fan. So I have a
Yes,
feeling I'm going to love the next month or so a lot.
you are going to. And I wanted to just mention something that I took a look at just before we came on. It worked last year for me. May not work as much this year, but if you like two teams to go all the way, maybe one from the AFC and one from the NFC, the odds are very good this weekend. Before the playoffs start, you'll get a very good price. What I did last year, I ended up picking the two Super Bowl teams, one from the AFC and NFC, which
Wow.
was San Francisco and Kansas City. And what I did was I took each of them uh, and I got 8-1, but I was really getting 4-1 because I had to lay out two bets. But it was worth it because they had to get to the Super Bowl. This way, if you get to the Super Bowl, you're guaranteed a payout. It's not worth as much this year with Kansas City. But if you like anybody other than Kansas City in the AFC and any NFC team, that strategy would work for you. If your teams get to the Super Bowl, you're a guaranteed winner.
I'll look at that. I'll have to think
Yes.
about that. I have a couple of teams, like I said, I feel I have some good feelings about. We'll see. I'll have to,
Yeah.
we'll see. It might be fun to throw a little bit of money on it.
Exactly right. And this is the weekend to do it because the odds will then come way down
Okay.
as the field narrows.
So I'm looking to see if I can pick the Super Bowl teams.
One from AFC, one from NFC. I mean, a lot of people love the Packers, and they look like the odds-on pick in the NFC. I really don't see anybody beating them at this point. AFC, maybe you take a couple, and then if you're lucky, you get the right two. You're already in for the Super Bowl.
I wish yeah, well, we'll see.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, Dave. Well, I will see you back here next week. We'll talk round or what. So how do you refer to this? Is this week 1 of the playoffs?
This is week 1 of the playoffs. Then we'll go into week 2. Then we'll get into the conference championships and everything. But there's an extra set of games. So it's just NFL week 1. The good thing is there are 6 games, and that's really I think it's great that they added those games. It's great for the books. It's great for the bettors, and football fans. We have more to enjoy this week.
Yeah, I like 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. To me, that's
too.
manageable. I can spend the time with those games. When it was a full slate, I'm like, on the weekends, I'm like, forget about it. I can't do them all.
Hey, see, look how far we've come. We used to live in an age where they used to talk about the 1 o'clock game, you'd watch one game. The 4 o'clock game, you'd watch one game. Now we can watch 15 games at one time in one setting. It's a great time to be alive.
I'm still old fashioned. I'm still watching one game at a time. Sometimes I flip back and forth, but I can't. It's too much for me. I had 2 games. I spread out my bets. I had 2 games in the morning and 2 games in the afternoon because I figured that was good.
Yes, well, that was good. Well, this is compatible with your betting style. That's the entire thing. Your betting style, knowing that, will ensure your longevity.
I hope so, from your mouth. Okay, Dave, I will see you next week then.
All right, Kimmy, good luck.
Thank you. To you too. Take care.